heart of a sprawling forest, a humble woodman went about his daily labor. The towering trees whispered in the breeze, their leaves shimmering as the sunlight streamed through. It was a place that the woodman had visited many times before, and yet on this particular morning, something felt strangely alive, as though the woods were watching him. With his trusty axe in hand, the woodman approached the largest oak he had ever seen. Its gnarled roots stretched far and wide, anchoring it firmly to the forest floor. As he prepared to swing his axe, determined to fell this ancient giant, a sudden shimmer of light danced around the tree. Startled, he paused mid-swing, watching in disbelief as a radiant, ethereal figure emerged from the bark itself. It was a fairy, tiny and delicate, yet commanding an otherworldly presence. Her wings sparkled like morning dew kissed by the sun, and her voice, though small, carried the weight of desperation. "Woodman," she pleaded, her hands clasped, "I beg you, spare this tree. It is not an ordinary oak, but a home, a sanctuary for creatures unseen by mortal eyes. In return for your kindness, I shall grant you 3 wishes, anything your heart desires." The woodman, though simple and practical by nature, felt a strange mix of awe and fear. "3 wishes?" he muttered, his calloused fingers tightening around the axe handle. The offer was tempting, but the sheer magic of the moment overwhelmed him. With a reluctant nod, he stepped back, lowering his axe. "I will leave the tree as it is," he agreed gruffly, more out of bewilderment than belief in the fairy's promise. And just as suddenly as she had appeared, the fairy vanished, leaving the woodman alone once more. He stood in silence for a moment, staring at the great oak, before shaking his head and muttering, "Must have been the sun playing tricks on me." By the time he returned home to his small cottage, the whole encounter had faded from his memory. That evening, as the woodman and his wife sat before the roaring hearth, the chill of the forest forgotten, a familiar pang of hunger crept over him. The day's labor had been taxing, and supper, though filling, had left his appetite unsatisfied. Reclining in his sturdy chair, the woodman sighed deeply. "I could do with a link of hog's pudding right now," he muttered absent-mindedly. No sooner had the words left his lips than a sudden commotion erupted above. The couple stared in astonishment as a clattering sound echoed down the chimney, and before their very eyes, a steaming pile of hog's pudding landed neatly at the woodman's feet. His wife gasped, while he, now wide-eyed, pieced together the events of the morning. "The fairy's promise," he exclaimed, turning to his wife. "It's real? The pudding, it's my first wish come true." He explained the encounter, recounting the magical promise he had nearly forgotten. But his wife, practical and sharp-tongued, was not so impressed. "Thou bist a fool, Jan," she scolded. "A link of pudding? With 3 wishes, you could have had riches, a fine mansion, or even gold aplenty. And instead, you waste one on mere food." Her scolding grew in fervor, her frustration mounting with each word. In her exasperation, she snapped, "I wish that pudding were stuck to thy nose, Jan, for such a foolish wish thou hast made." In an instant, the fairy's promise fulfilled itself once more. Before either could react, the hog's pudding sprang from the floor, attaching itself firmly to the woodman's unfortunate nose. He yelped in alarm, his hands fumbling to pry the stubborn delicacy away, but it would not budge. The wife, too, stood frozen, her anger replaced by horror at the sight of her husband's now grotesque appearance. The couple spent the next hour wrestling with the unwanted attachment. Pulling, tugging, and twisting, they tried everything, yet the pudding remained firmly in place. Finally, the woodman sat down in defeat, the weight of the pudding dragging his head forward. "There's no help for it," he grumbled, his voice muffled. "We've only 1 wish left, and I've no choice but to use it to rid myself of this cursed thing." His wife, chastened and regretful, nodded silently. "Go ahead and do it," she whispered. "Wish it away." And so, with a heavy heart, the woodman made his final wish, that the hog's pudding be removed from his nose. The fairy's magic worked as swiftly as ever, and the offending link disappeared, leaving the man's face unharmed, but his spirit thoroughly deflated. The couple sat in silence for a long while, staring into the flames of the hearth. The woodman shook his head ruefully. "3 wishes," he muttered, "and nothing to show for it, but an empty stomach and a lesson in folly." And so, the tale of the 3 wishes came to its bittersweet conclusion. a story of missed opportunities, impulsive words, and the unforeseen consequences of magic.